stunning revelation. Vulnerability is the crucible in which our deepest attachments are forged, and today we're diving into vulnerability triggers, anxious and avoidant attachment. In our journey together, we will explore how our earliest wounds and learned behaviors shape the way we experience intimacy, and how both anxious and avoidant attachment styles respond when vulnerability is on the table. Imagine, if you will, a child who reaches out for a warm embrace, only to be met with a dismissive shrug or a hurried pat on the head. That simple act, intended to comfort, can leave a lasting imprint. For those with an anxious attachment, every small sign of emotional distance may feel like an avalanche of impending abandonment. Conversely, individuals with an avoidant attachment style learn early on to protect themselves by keeping others at arm's length, viewing closeness as a potential threat to their hard-earned independence. I recall a story from my own life when I was much younger and navigating the tumultuous seas of my own emotions. I once found myself desperately craving connection, yet simultaneously terrified of it. Every time I dared to share a piece of my inner world, a surge of panic would overwhelm me. A reflex so deeply ingrained that it felt as if my very breath was at stake. That paradoxical dance between the need for intimacy and the fear of being engulfed is the essence of these vulnerability triggers. And this is what we're exploring today. For those of you who identify with an anxious attachment, vulnerability can feel like standing naked in a storm, exposed and unprotected. Every pause in conversation might become a haunting echo of rejection, each silence a reminder of the love you fear to lose. You may find yourself oscillating between desperate calls for reassurance and bouts of self-doubt that make you question your worth. And yet, there is an incredible strength in acknowledging that pain, a strength that can lead to profound personal growth if nurtured with patience and self-compassion. On the flip side, those with an avoidant attachment style might view vulnerability as a dangerous invitation. They have built their inner fortress brick by brick from early experiences of emotional neglect, learning to suppress their true feelings to avoid the sting of rejection. The very notion of opening up, of exposing those tender parts within, can feel as if one is inviting chaos into a life that has been painstakingly ordered and controlled. I remember a dear friend, Mark, who, despite his charming composure and self-sufficiency, would retreat into silence at the slightest hint of emotional disclosure. His story is a vivid reminder that beneath the surface of calm detachment often lies a tumultuous sea of unspoken fears. Now, you might wonder, how do these two seemingly opposite responses to vulnerability, one raw with neediness and the other cloaked in icy reserve, coexist in the realm of relationships? The answer, dear viewer, lies in the intricate interplay of our early attachment experiences. In the crucible of childhood, when caregivers are inconsistent or emotionally unavailable, we are forced to forge survival strategies that serve us well in the short term, but can create challenges in our adult relationships. Anxious individuals learn to amplify their pleas for connection, while avoidants develop a keen sense of self-reliance that, ironically, can become a barrier to true intimacy. This brings me to a crucial point. Vulnerability, when understood and embraced, is not a weakness but a gateway to healing and growth. It is through our honest expressions of need and the gentle sharing of our inner landscapes that we can begin to dismantle the defenses built by past hurts. Consider the metaphor of a delicate plant. Its tender shoots require both sunlight and the nourishing embrace of water to thrive. In relationships, vulnerability is that nourishing water, and while it may seem risky to let it flow freely, without it, our bonds can wither. Let me share another story to illuminate this idea further. There was a woman, whom I'll call Sarah, who struggled mightily with the fear of opening up. In her early relationships, Every attempt at emotional closeness was met with a retreat, a subtle withdrawal that left her feeling abandoned. Over time, Sarah came to realize that her need for connection was both natural and essential. With the guidance of a compassionate therapist, she began to experiment with small acts of vulnerability, sharing a secret, admitting a small fear, or simply expressing a moment of joy. These incremental steps did not dismantle her defenses overnight, but they allowed her to experience a different kind of intimacy, one that was gradual, respectful, and reciprocal. Sarah's journey teaches us that when vulnerability is met with understanding rather than judgment, it can transform our relationships from battlegrounds into sanctuaries. For those with an avoidant attachment style, the challenge is often to reconcile their cherished independence with the need for genuine connection. The strategy is not to force oneself into constant intimacy, but to learn that sharing a part of your inner world does not diminish your autonomy. Instead, it enriches your experience and allows you to connect with others on a deeper level. I once spoke with a man named Daniel, whose approach to relationships was the epitome of detachment. Daniel prided himself on his ability to remain self-sufficient, yet he secretly longed for the warmth of a partner who could understand him. With time and a lot of introspection, Daniel learned that by slowly and selectively revealing his vulnerabilities, starting with less threatening disclosures, he could foster trust without feeling overwhelmed. This balance between maintaining one's freedom and allowing oneself to be known is the essence of what we call secure attachment, and it is the ideal many of us strive for. So how can you, as someone navigating the complexities of either an anxious or avoidant attachment style, begin to embrace vulnerability in your relationships? First, understand that vulnerability is a process, not a destination. It is a gradual unfolding of your inner world, a step-by-step invitation for others to join you in your journey. It is not about laying bare every secret or exposing your deepest wounds all at once. Rather, it is about making small, measured gestures of openness. Think of it as opening a door just a crack, enough to let the light in, but not so much that the chill of the outside world rushes in uninvited. Second, it is essential to cultivate an environment of emotional safety with your partner. This means establishing clear communication channels where both of you feel heard and understood. When you share your feelings, aim to do so with clarity and without blame. For instance, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try, "I feel lonely when I don't have the chance to share my thoughts with you." Such expressions invite dialogue rather than defensiveness, creating a space where vulnerability can be reciprocated with empathy. Another key strategy is self-compassion. Whether you lean toward anxiety or avoidance, the journey toward healthy intimacy begins with understanding and accepting yourself. Recognize that your past experiences have shaped your current behaviors, and that it is entirely natural to have defensive mechanisms. Rather than chastise yourself for being guarded or overly needy, acknowledge these patterns as survival strategies that once served you well. With this awareness comes the possibility of gentle self-transformation. Consider the analogy of a seasoned sailor navigating stormy seas. The sailor has learned to adjust the sails and secure the rigging to weather the tempest, but he also knows that the calm after the storm is an opportunity to repair and improve the ship. Similarly, in relationships, moments of vulnerability can be seen as opportunities to adjust your emotional sails, fine-tuning your responses and gradually strengthening your bond with your partner. I must also mention the importance of mutual growth. True intimacy is not a one-sided endeavor. It requires both partners to be willing to embark on the sometimes uncomfortable journey of self-discovery together. When both of you commit to understanding and addressing your attachment triggers, you create a dynamic where vulnerability is not feared but cherished. In such relationships, Disagreements and conflicts are not seen as threats, but rather as invitations to learn more about each other and to find innovative ways to support one another. Let us not forget that the process of opening up is deeply personal, and the pace at which you choose to share your vulnerabilities is entirely up to you. For those with an anxious attachment style, this may mean learning to tolerate moments of silence without spiraling into panic. And for those with an avoidant style, it might involve taking small risks by letting someone see a crack in the armor. These incremental steps can lead to a significant shift over time, as each shared moment of vulnerability builds a bridge toward a more secure and fulfilling relationship. As I conclude, let me leave you with this thought. The art of vulnerability is not about exposing every detail of your inner life to the world in one fell swoop. It is about learning to trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your partner, and trust in the process of healing. By embracing vulnerability in measured, thoughtful ways, you can create a relationship that honors both your need for independence and your desire for deep, meaningful connection. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of vulnerability triggers, anxious and avoidant attachment. May you find the courage to open your heart, the wisdom to understand your own emotional landscape, and the grace to build bonds that are both secure and liberating. Your journey toward deeper intimacy and emotional freedom begins with a single step, one that is taken with the firm belief that vulnerability, far from being a weakness, is the very essence of true connection.
If you believe this video might help someone dear to you, share it with them. A small gesture on your part could mean the world to a friend in need.